If we're at 28 or anywhere near it, and we're at 50% with Hispanic, and the poll shows we're higher, just cancel the election. Just say Trump wins automatically, because that's a whole... Now, they're going to say, see, now when I say that, you know, we have fun, we're laughing and kidding, but when I say that, he's a fascist, he announced tonight he wants to cancel the election. They actually had, you know, when I imitate Biden, you can't find his way off a stage, you can't put two sentences together, right? Can't put two sentences together. Here's a teleprompter, he doesn't know where the hell the teleprompter's there. And the nice part about me, I only use the teleprompter. The average, I think they say it averages about 9%. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a guy that didn't really need the teleprompter? Isn't that nice, though? Isn't that nice? But, you know, the dangerous thing I have, Al and Steve, is when I joke a little bit. You know, we got to joke. The country's in such trouble. If you don't have a sense of humor, we'd never get by. But you got to sort of make a little bit of fun. And I sort of imitate his speaking, and I go, bye-bye. He has no idea where the hell he is, right? Or I'll show him where he can't find the stairs. Now, we have a stair there, we have a stair there, we have one here, we have one here. They're all over the place. And he can never find this. I think Secret Service says, you always have this young, handsome guy run onto the stage, grab his arm, and pretend like it's normal to be doing that, right? But the biggest thing is, when I do it, they sometimes put me on, and they say Trump couldn't find his way off the stage, because they are the most dishonest people on earth, other than guys like Adam Schiff and, you know, Shifty Pencil Neck. Pencil Neck. He's a marvel. No, he's a structural marvel. He has a neck, and his head is like a watermelon, and his neck. And how that neck can hold up that big, oversized, ugly head is hard to believe. No, it's true. Big head. It's like your finger on a basketball. Some of these guys, they spin it. No, he's a terrible guy. Think of it. Think of this, Schiff. So they make up the Russia hoax. It's a, you know, and by this time it was found out, and blah, blah, blah. Everyone knows it's a hoax, a scam. And, you know, it was originally used as a one-day deal to show that Hillary Clinton lost because of Russia, because they were embarrassed, because they weren't supposed to lose, but they lost. And so they made up this that it was Russia. I said, Russia? What the hell did Russia have to do with it? And I meant that. So then it got carried away. It ended up being 2.5 years, because it got picked up by the fake news. They knew it was a scam. Got picked up by but think of it. Adam Schiff made it up, along with Hillary Clinton and some others, DNC, Democrats, and they made up this scam. Dangerous scam, very dangerous. Amazing that, you know, fortunately I knew Putin very well, and we had a little bit of a relationship going. He couldn't believe, he said, what the hell is going on with your country? They make up this scam, and then he comes out of a room. So he knows it's made up, and he has a news conference with a lot of press, and I'm watching this, and he goes, Donald Trump Jr. will go to prison because of what he did with Russia. Now, talking about my son is going to go to prison because of something they know is a total hoax. It's not like they believed it was maybe true. They knew it was, because they made it up. It was a scam. It was written. No, think of it. And he's saying, think of it, you have a son. And I called up my son. I said, are you okay? He says, yeah, I don't know anything about Russia. What's going on? He knew nothing about Russia. This guy in the fourth row right here, he knows more about Russia than my son knew. But think how bad you have to be as a person to do that. So he's got a scam. They know it's a scam. It's a made-up story to try and justify why she lost, okay? She lost because she had no personality. She lost for a lot of reasons. No, they said she's... Well, that too. I would say this. She's evil. That's interesting. But what kind of a human being would say we're going to put somebody in prison because of something that we made up that we know is a phony thing? Bad people, right, Steve? Bad people, you know? They're bad people.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Kansas, Mr. LaTurner, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here today. Secretary Mayorkas, in April, you said, quote, our message has been clear that the border is in fact not open. According to public data from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which you yourself oversee, we had 227,000 migrant encounters at the southwest border in September of this year alone, bringing the yearly total to almost 2.4 million, which is the highest number ever recorded. Do you believe that indicates a border that is not open?
Congressman, thanks for your question. Please, it's very important that the American people understand that the individuals whom we encounter who are not expelled under the Public Health Authority of Title 42 are placed in immigration enforcement proceedings and are subject to removal if they do not qualify for the relief that the laws of this country provide them.
Respectfully,
I do not
Mr.
think,
Secretary,
if I may.
No, hang on. I have a limited amount of time and several questions. If you just give me a quick answer, I would really appreciate it.
Sure.
Among those nearly 2.4 million encounters, we had 98 non-U.S. citizens listed on the terrorist watch list who were caught trying to enter the homeland between ports of entry. This is approximately 5 times the number of terrorist encounters from the last 5 years combined. Do you believe this indicates a border that is not open?
What this indicates, Congressman, is the fact that we have extraordinary personnel in the United States Border Patrol risking their lives every day to apprehend individuals at the border. And we
Mr. Secretary, you're not going to answer the question. In fiscal year 2022, we had an estimated 600,000 gotaways. Do you believe this indicates a border that is not open?
Congressman, I would respectfully posit that I don't think that the 1.4 million people who were either removed or expelled
Mr. Secretary,
from the country would
please
consider the border open.
I'm going to take back my time. In May, Kansas City law enforcement seized more than 15,000 counterfeit fentanyl pills. This fiscal year alone, CBP has seized enough fentanyl to kill almost 2.9 billion people, over 8 times the entire population of the U.S. Do you believe this indicates a border that is not open?
Congressman, do you realize that the majority of the fentanyl that is sought to be smuggled into the United States comes through the ports of entry, and our interdiction efforts have been more successful than ever before? I should note,
Mr. Secretary, in my home state,
excuse me,
Mr. Secretary, you've done this all day. When you don't like a question, you filibuster. In my home state of Kansas, the state health department saw a 54% increase in drug overdoses in the first half of 2021, nearly half of which were caused by fentanyl, primarily supplied by the cartels. Nationwide, the CDC reported that over 107,000 Americans died of drug overdoses in 2021, with 66% of those related to synthetic opioids like fentanyl. 300 Americans a day are dying from fentanyl. It's the equivalent of an airliner going down every day. Do you think this indicates a border that is not open?
Congressman, the fight against the scourge of fentanyl and the devastation that it is wreaking is a years-long fight that we in the United States government with our state and local partners have been fighting. Do you realize that the number of overdose deaths from fentanyl has been increasing year over year since at least 2018? Certainly, this is not a new phenomenon.
Mr. Secretary,
it is not a new tragedy.
Mr. Secretary, you clearly don't understand the problem.
I clearly do.
Excuse me. This has nothing to do with politics. This is about kids across the country dying every single day from fentanyl overdoses because people in Washington can't get their act together. This is about an overwhelmed Border Patrol. This is about migrants being victimized by the drug cartels. My concern, and the concern of my constituents back home, is how can you begin to solve the problem if you don't even acknowledge the depth and breadth of it? Here's a question for you. Have you had discussions, excuse me, Mr. Secretary, have you had discussions with the President or anyone in the Biden administration about stepping down from your current role?
I have not.
Not a conversation with anyone in the administration?
Congressman, let me be very clear.
Yes or no?
May I answer your
question?
No,
yes or no? Have you had that conversation with anyone in the administration?
I am very proud of what we have accomplished. I'm very committed to accomplishing
Answer
more.
the question. Have you had a conversation with anyone in the administration about stepping down from your current role?
I have not.
I hope, for the sake of the safety of the American people, that conversation happens very soon. I yield back my time.
The gentleman yields back. Mr. Secretary, you may respond. If you
Madam
like.
Acting Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. Congressman, I look forward to sharing information with you so that you understand the threat that fentanyl poses and how it is smuggled into the country. Everything that we are doing to fight the transnational criminal organizations across the federal enterprise with our partners to the South, and to disabuse you of misunderstandings that you have with respect to the fentanyl crisis, because they are grave, and I look forward to not only sharing information with you, but hopefully sharing information with the American public.
I recognize myself.
Did you have confidential human sources? I think you never answered that question on January 6th in the Capitol. Did you have some?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Confidential human sources. Did you have them on January 6th in the Capitol?
Well, again, I'm never going to be getting into when and where we have or have not used confidential human sources. But
are you willing to stand the record that you had no confidential human sources that went into Capitol on January 6th?
As I've said consistently, I'm not going to get into where we have or have not used confidential human sources. I can tell you that if you are asking if the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources or agents, the answer is no.
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked, so did you investigate any confidential human sources? Did you do any investigation and looking at that? So you're not answering if you had any or not. So if you had potentially, did you do anything you needed to make sure to investigate that none of your sources did anything wrong? If they did wrong, they were prosecuted the same way, like you're trying to prosecute a lot of people that really, even in Supreme Court ruled recently that some unconstitutional charges.
Let me just add that there have now been, I think, 180 individuals who've gone to trial, in addition to the 850 who've pled guilty.
Right, but I think the problem is you put these charges, a lot of people would put guilty. But let me say just quickly, because I only have 10 seconds, really. So I hope you will take seriously what you're doing. You know, related to the border security is also a crisis. You know, your vice president was a lead-in on that. Has she initiated meetings with you to lead, like weekly or monthly meeting where she actually get briefings from you as a lead-in border czar that had that function? Have you had that? Has she initiated any meetings on a regular basis with you?
Again, gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman can respond.
Right. On this issue of confidential human sources, number one, I will say there is a DOJ OIG review that's underway that I think addresses some of these kinds of topics, I believe, but I won't speak for the Inspector General. Second, as to this suggestion, which I've heard all too many times, that somehow January 6th was orchestrated by FBI agents or sources, I will note that in addition to my prior comments, that there have now been 850-ish individuals who've pled guilty, another 180 who've gone to trial. They've all had access to defense counsel, discovery, all the things the Constitution and the rules provide them. It's been in front of something like 15 different judges, I think dozens of juries, and not one has given credence to this notion. And in fact, I don't think any of them have even really seriously tried to raise it. So it's not just my word for it. Look what's happening in the cases. Thank you.
And now I want to talk about another possible assassination attempt. And I'll start by showing a video of President Biden. And this is from recently. This is in the last month, if we can play that.
Gallows erected to hang the Vice President, Mike Pence. I think it's fair to say it's one of the darkest days in the history of America.
Okay, and he's referring to January 6th. Were there gallows erected to hang Mike Pence, as the president says here?
I'm not aware of any physical gallows. I can't remember whether from a demonstration perspective there may not have been some kind of replica or symbol of something like that.
That's my impression. Can we show, can you raise that up so you can see it? It looks like there was some kind of prop that was built. The construction doesn't look like it lends itself to actually hanging somebody. It's more of a prop, I think, as you suggested, that was erected on January 6th. But if the president were correct, that these gallows were erected to hang Mike Pence, that would be a very serious allegation, wouldn't it?
I would take it very seriously, yes.
Has anybody been arrested, or do you have any leads in conjunction with the erection of this gallows? We had a picture here on the screen, if you can show it again. It was just up there. There's an individual here who's seen on near these gallows. Has he been arrested? Have you identified this person?
You know, I don't know that I could speak to this specific person or the gallows that are pictured on the image. You know, we have had, I think, 850 people who have pled guilty to federal crimes related to January 6th, and I think, you know, another 180, I think it is, convicted at trials. So I can't be sure.
And some of them merely for going into the Capitol, but here the president suggests that individual intended to hang Vice President Pence, which seems like kind of a wild claim myself, given the construction of those gallows. But if we are to take him seriously, or even if we aren't, let me just finish by saying this. If you have no leads, or you're not sure if anybody who erected those gallows was arrested or is being investigated, you know, were there any confidential human sources involved from the FBI or any other agency in the erection of that prop, those gallows?
I'm not aware of anything like that.
All right. Thank you. I yield back.